Runescape, the game that allowed 12-year-old me to get led to the wildy and murked by a man offering to show me his golden lizard. Developed by Jagex and released on January 4th, 2001, RuneScape was and still is a fantasy-based MMORPG that took the world by storm. Playable in your browser and not needing to download any special programs, RuneScape allowed players to explore the world of Gielinor while training a multitude of stats which allowed them to move on to bigger and better areas, fights, and even earn more gold. Like 1999's EverQuest, RuneScape was and still is a non-linear based game that allows players to craft and forge their own way within the game and do what matters most to them. Want to increase your woodcutting and fire making? Stand around in starting area Lumbridge and continually chop down trees before lighting them on fire in a long line like a crazy man. This sort of functionality sought to be far different from the normal console games of the time, wherein players would complete a predetermined storyline instead of doing the things that interested them the most. This was much better for the players to do what they wanted to do instead of what the developers wanted them to be interested in the most. This sort of freedom made RuneScape soar, as the game has swelled to over 200 million accounts as of the recording of this video, and is even recognized by the Guinness World Records as the world's largest and most updated free MMORPG. All of this sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. RuneScape has had its fair share of challenges along the way. RuneScape began to gain a lot of steam, and as such, the developers decided change was inevitable. They completely rewrote the game engine and produced a brand new version of the game, which was originally called RuneScape 2, though later changed to being just RuneScape. RuneScape 2 had a new game engine that allowed for three-dimensional graphics, as well as a new paid monthly membership option, which added features like new areas, quests, and items. The game would undergo many more graphical changes in May 2006, with another game engine update which vastly reduced memory requirements and game loading times, leading to more users being able to comfortably access and play the game. This sort of change would lead to a small explosion in their number of accounts, and subsequently their monthly operating income through their paid membership option. The core of any RuneScape character is found within the skill system. Divided into 27 skills, with 17 available to free players and an additional 10 for paid monthly members, a player's different skill levels unlock more of the game and allows players to craft more, gather more, and even earn more of the in-game gold currency. Skills are highly related and interconnected as well, which is a recipe for success that RuneScape has always offered. Unlike games like World of Warcraft, which has two main professions a player has to pick from on each character, RuneScape allows you to level all of them at any time you wish, though you can obviously only level members-only skills if you have an active paid membership. This system works well for players, with the player able to craft their own pickaxe to go and mine ore, then smelting their own ore within the smithing skill, before using those metal bars to craft armor, weapons, and other great items which they can use themselves or sell to other players. Skills advance up to level 99, except for certain member skills like Dungeoneering, Invention, and Slayer, which all max out at level 120. With all of the advancement of RuneScape, something was still missing from the game. Jagex released HD versions of the game, known as just RuneScape HD, on July 1st, 2008, but found that most players didn't come to play RuneScape because of its graphics. With so many great MMOs graphically, but still large numbers on RuneScape, they were coming for the experience, and more importantly, the nostalgia. Many players grew up with RuneScape, with it being truly the first introduction into MMO gaming that most of them would ever have. Given the completely free aspect of the game, and the fact it was run within your internet browser for the longest time, RuneScape was able to succeed in places like middle and high schools, where their players grew up with the game. And they wanted just that. The experience they had with their friends after school back in the day, and not a new and graphically impressive version of the game. Given a choice, a lot of gamers out there will choose to revisit things that brought them happiness in their first experiences in game for the nostalgia's sake. With this, Jagex saw the writing on the wall, and in November 2009, re-released RuneScape Classic, the original game that was available from the game's launch on January 4th, 2001, until March 29, 2004, when the new RuneScape 2 came out. This is where things begin to get a little rocky though with Jagex, with the developers releasing, then yanking their own game due to an entire host of problems which they claimed happened. Originally, RuneScape Classic was discontinued on August 4th, 2005 because Jagex claimed that the free version was being used to break rules. On January 15th, 2006, when they changed course and said that a player could only log on to RuneScape Classic if they had logged on sometime between August 4th, 2005, the date it was discontinued, and January 15th, 2006. This meant that members who had been paying for access previously could not access RuneScape Classic unless they had logged on to that version of the game sometime between those date frames. They reportedly decided this based on the operating cost factor and that it was a heavy load on their servers. Jagex then ended up opening the game during random events for different periods of time, but never for very long, the last time it was accessed being September of 2011. All of these experiments would culminate into one thing that was wanted all along: Old School Runescape. Announced in a post on February 13th, 2013, and opened to a community poll 2 days later, Old School RuneScape was and is a previous version of the game which was introduced from the August 2007 archive of the game. It was a backup source code that had been kept, and one that many former players and paid members were keen to try out. The poll ended 2 weeks after it began, on March 1st, 2013, and ended the tally with 449,351 votes. While they originally said they needed 500,000 votes to have no additional membership fee to access Old School RuneScape, they gave 6 months free, though it has since always remained open for free with no membership needed to access the game. Old School RuneScape is unique, wherein players can use their main RuneScape accounts to access both games. Any accomplishments, however, are separate from each instance of the retail game and Old School RuneScape, leading players to make a tough decision on which one they care about most. Jagex knew they had hit pay dirt with their new polling option, and that giving way to the public opinion was best. Some certain game companies could learn a thing or two about listening to their paying core base. Blizzard. The majority of new content in Old School RuneScape is decided by player polls and feedback obtained from places like their official forum, Twitter, and Reddit. To be eligible to vote, presumably so fake bots aren't casting thousands of votes, players must have a total level of 280 in Old School RuneScape to participate, and 75% of the vote must be in favor for the change if it is to take effect. If something isn't approved, it can be morphed and changed and then repolled to see if the new and updated idea can get traction and gain at least 75% of the vote. Gaining votes isn't too difficult though, with Old School RuneScape gaining 50,000 players on day 1 after being up for only 4 hours to new registration. Most of the time during peak time slots, Old School RuneScape hits around 85,000 concurrent players, though their record is 156,544 on April 26, 2020, right after the Bounty Hunter update occurred. Some things that have come from these polls are new quests, new areas like the Cabos Lowlands and Weiss, and skill updates like rooftop agility and aerial fishing. This has helped transform Old School RuneScape into something different than the vanilla experience, and allows lower original resolution areas like Lumbridge to exist next to newer and more up-to-date locations like Fossil Island. Whether or not that is a good thing is up to each individual player to decide. Old School RuneScape has indeed dominated the normal RuneScape 3 retail version, as seen in this graph. Concurrent players of Old School RuneScape are in blue, with RuneScape 3 in yellow. The large spike in 2018 is from the mobile version of Old School RuneScape, which has been a smash hit. It was such a success, allowing players to access their nostalgia mobilely, that it became the most downloaded mobile game in 8 different countries within just 2 weeks of release. At that time, over 1 million downloads had been recorded, with many more now. Is this the future of MMOs? I think Jagex would like to think so. Entering the full digital age and hitting consumers where they spend a lot of their time, on mobile devices, bodes well for any early 2000s hit that has seen its numbers dip because of AAA games on PC and console alike, which are vying and fighting for market share. Allowing people to play your game anywhere with a less than taxing graphical interface means games like RuneScape and others which I've covered previously like Neopets and Toontown Online can all make their well-waited for comeback into the mobile era of MMO gaming. My name is Logan and thank you so much for watching my video. If you would, please consider hitting the like button and clicking subscribe to be notified whenever I make a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you at the next upload.